Let's go. Let's go
Maybe
see what my one of my favorite tech companies is doing.
yeah, we definitely need to. Favorite tech company, of course, being AMD. This week was Computex. Those that don't know, these CPU manufacturers tend to go and disclose. They tend to disclose more info about like their new and upcoming hardware. And AMD talked more about Ryzen 7000 CPUs, the AM5 socket. That's coming out, the next generation AM socket,
Sheesh.
and it's looking pretty good, Mike. I ain't gonna lie. I read some of this article. It's getting exciting. I think right off the top, the first thing I want to mention is the first thing that kind of came out with said the 7000 chips are going to be able to boost upwards and north of 5 gigahertz fairly easily. So we're like breaking the 5 gigahertz barrier for speeds on a chip. AMD showed off a 5.5 gigahertz clock speed during its Computex presentation while playing Ghostwire Tokyo, matching the 5.5 gigahertz turbo boost of the Intel's i9 1290KS. Um, it says here not that megahertz mean much for performance and isolation, but both Intel and AMD have many laptop chips that with turbo they go up to 5 gigahertz, and doesn't necessarily mean they're faster at tasks than a lower clocked desktop CPU, for your standard task. But it's still crazy to see. Like, I certainly, a few years ago, it's like pushing four. Like, if you were pushing 4 gigahertz, it's like whoa, and so now it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's past and gone. Now it's like past 5 is gonna be the new norm. Um, so no surprise there, I don't think. But I think the biggest thing too, there's certainly a lot more hardware wise. It's pretty impressive. Including the first, it has the world's first 5 nanometer PC processor core. Which is those chipsets get smaller and smaller every generation. So it's like, 1 nanometer. Like when are we hitting that? Like nanometers? I don't even know, dude. I'm not an engineer, but like,
Dude, nanometers are so small too. A lot of
yeah,
people don't know that.
yeah, they're
Like,
yeah,
it's so nuts.
yeah, it's crazy. Um, Biggest thing, of course, they announced at the presentation. They announced, board partners, kind of the big ones to look out for, especially on the higher end. The X670 Extreme, which is going to be their flagship board. There's some graphics here they showed. The X670 Extreme is going to be like the absolute best board to get with this chipset if you want to be able to overclock and unlock all the performance. The X670 is going to be following that one. Still be able to overclock and everything. You just won't have as you won't have like the very niche features that most people probably wouldn't use if I'm being honest, but there's that. And of course the B650, which is always we've had the B350, 450, that's always been kind of the lower tier board. If you're just looking for something to run your chip, you don't necessarily want to like overclock it or anything. That's always kind of it's always the chipset to go with. But overall, the biggest paragraph here, and I want to talk about is regardless of tier, the AM5 chipset in general is going to be offering 24 lanes of PCIe 5.0 bandwidth. It says these motherboards will have up to 14 USB 3.x ports, some of which will support 20 gigabit per second and USB-C. You also get up to 4 display outputs on your motherboard itself, and manufacturers can outfit them with HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 2. And just to put it in perspective, I know the older gens was like PCIe Gen 4. I can't
Yeah.
remember the speeds off the top of my head, but they were that was already pretty fast. And so article does go on to explain a little bit more. Let me see if I can actually find the exact number here because they mention it. Something I don't want to misquote it. I think it was like 60% roughly in like read speeds on the new PCIe form factor. Yeah, it's right here. AMD says it already seeing 60% faster improvements in subsequent read speeds on PCIe 5.0 NVMe. So, and they also make a joke of saying that this is the kind of thing that may give the mythical 1 second game load times that we've seen across like consoles even now. So it's it's exciting stuff, man. I mean, I'm not like super surprised. I expected insane things out of the next chipset. And but like although I say I'm not surprised, like at least on the GPU front, like the fact that they're able to push as much power as it's rumored to have in this next set, it's like it's crazy, man. Like it just the fact that it's like 14, like AM5 is going to support up to 14 like USB ports on one board. It's like what? It's just crazy.
It's,
Um,
it's so unnecessary, but I need it. I've used
right?
like all my ports too, so
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think I don't even know, like 8 10. That's not including the one that's on my case.
Yeah,
So,
like the front ports. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't even know. I think I have like 8 on mine or something. I love having a lot of USB ports though, so if they want to add more, I mean,
Same.
I'm here for it, you know?
Yeah. They're gonna put the, USB expansion things out of business.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I don't know. I laid a lot on you, Mike. What are your overall thoughts? Excited?
Well, so was it last episode or the episode before where we talked about DDR5 RAM? And we basically got the hint that DDR5 RAM was gonna be nutty,
Yeah.
and not even the hint. They basically said like, "Hey, this stuff's insane."
Yeah.
And then we found out that AMD was like, "Yeah, we're abandoning DDR4. You
Yeah.
got to get DDR5 now." And now they're saying you got to get a new motherboard. Okay, so my initial thoughts is AMD for the longest time it was like when you buy a motherboard, it kind of future proofs it for the next like 3 to 4 generations.
Yeah.
So I did that with X570 motherboard, which is the last generation because they're now doing 670. And like I'm kind of bummed that if I want to go up to this new AM5 CPU, I have to get a new motherboard too.
Yeah.
I got to get a new motherboard anyway because these AM5s will not work with DDR4.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you gotta get DDR5.
Yeah.
So
It's in a weird spot where like it's very exciting, right? Because like we're like
yeah,
ditching old, and like this new is so good that they're saying it's worth to upgrade the new hardware. But at the same
yes.
time, if you just purchase, it's like kind of buyer's remorse a little bit. It's like
Oh, 100%.
so I
Yeah.
mean, it's unfortunate if you just bought new hardware, but it's looking like these upgrades are going to be nothing to laugh at. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think talking about the DDR5 stuff was that it's DDR5 is going to have noticeable like frame improvements in games.
Yes.
Just the form factor alone is going to offer that. So definitely
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
Yeah. And then what's it gonna be like when the 4090 comes out?
Yeah,
You know? Or
it's
AMD could have some like behemoth that they've been just sleeping on and not telling
right.
anybody. Or who Intel also recently went back into the market for GPUs.
Yeah.
So
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, now we got three major manufacturers coming out with GPUs. We got AMD finally putting an Intel on their heels, where they're like, Intel's like, oh crap, we got to step it up
Yeah.
and lower our prices. So it's good, man. One thing for the Intel fans is they're not like they're used to having to buy a new motherboard every time they get a new CPU.
Yeah.
That pretty much was the whole gig with Intel. And AMD was always just like, we're gonna future proof you. Just
Yeah.
buy the new CPU, old motherboard, we're fine. You
Yeah.
could probably do it, who knows? But we'll find out. I can't wait until the tech reviews from all the YouTubers I like
Yeah.
watching.
No, it's going to be absolutely nuts this next year. Um,
Yep.
But I mean, it also talks about. I mean, they make a joke at the end of the article. So like you were talking about, you're gonna have to upgrade like all your hardware, right? Like it's gonna have to change. They also
Mhm.
say they say you don't have to give away all your hardware because existing AM4 compatible CPU coolers, you can keep them puppies. You know, you don't have to get rid of them. You can
Hey,
keep the cooler.
let's go.
It's gonna fit the new socket, so you can keep it. Um,
But will it still cool?
that's what I'm saying. Like, is it gonna like? Do I want to do that to my brand new AM5 chip?
Yeah,
Do I want to? Probably not. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
that is pretty funny. So AMD is absolutely crushing it,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah, yeah. They
like
didn't provide. They of course didn't provide the actual chips yet. We'll get that later this year. Of like, here's
yeah.
the chips coming out. Here's the price points. Here's the performance. Get that later this year. But it is good to hear that AM5 is just around the corner, and we're gonna have all new motherboards and all new chipset.
Yeah, so far we're basically gonna have um an AM5 that's gonna be 5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and then we're gonna move into a 4090, and then we're gonna buy a VR PlayStation headset,
Yeah.
and then we're
One.
probably gonna go play like Minecraft.
And ray tracing.
Oh yeah,
200,
ray tracing.
500 hertz.
Yeah,
Oh
and
gosh.
all of these generations, and Star Citizen still it's not out.
Got him. Let's go.
Yeah, got him. That's gonna piss off some Star Citizen fans. Um,
Yeah. There's always next release if it happens, you know? Come on,
mhm.
Star Citizen fans. Start writing your local developer and tell them to get it together, you know?
Hey, one thing about Star Citizen is they've taken like 10 years, but they're improving. I've seen some new gameplay.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's more of a game there that people can play in. So
Yeah.
instead of like a wallpaper simulator. But
Yeah. Also, before I
all
move
right.
on, AM5, there's this little like graphic on the article. The Verge says AM5. It is 5 nanometer plus DDR5 plus PCIe 5.0 plus 5 gigahertz. It's like just 5. Like it's all 5 now.
Well, yeah, and then the motherboard should have 5.2 Bluetooth.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, it's going to be
Yeah,
all 5s all around this next generation. It's
the
the
year of 5.
yes, exactly. It's the year of the 5s. Super exciting stuff.